Hare Krishna everyone. Thank you for joining us today, even though it's in a different center, but thank you for all coming. So we'll begin with Jayarada Madhava. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Hare Krishna. Since it is a new room, probably all can be in one place, like a lot of space in front. If you don't mind, keep moving into the front rows. It's a new place, new setup, so I'm being tested here in the new environment. Okay, we'll begin with the invocation prayers. Everyone has Bhagavad Gita. If not, you can open your handheld devices. Introduction, page 1. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalaakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वापदान्तिकम् वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरू श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कान्ता राधाकान्ता नमोऽस्तुते तप्तकाञ्चना गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय Anybody doesn't have Bhagavad Gita as it is here in this assembly as their personal copies? You should have your own. Anybody else doesn't have their own copy of Bhagavad Gita? Everyone has their own copy, right? That's very good. So we're going to go over the verses number 10 to 16 and few more today from the Karma Yoga 3rd chapter. Last week, first section was covered by Prabhu, Pidambar Prabhu, 1 to 9 verses he covered. We will go through the next few verses. So before that, we would like to have a quick recap of where we are and why we are talking about this particular section in the Bhagavad Gita. In chapter 2, Krishna explained the contents of the Gita summarized. He explained entire Bhagavad Gita in a summary form. So there's a lot of information. Sankhya Yoga, which is analytical study of everything, like including soul and the matter. And then he explained also Buddhi Yoga. He explained Karma Kanda. He explained Karma Yoga. And then he was telling Arjuna that better to do spiritual activities than material activities. So after hearing all that, Arjuna became a little confused. And he asked him a question. So why are you asking me to engage in this warfare, which looks like a fruitive activity, when you said it's renunciation. Renunciation means to give up. So it's better to give up is what he understood. So he said renunciation is better than engaging in the warfare. Okay, I wanted to show you the breakdown of the 3rd chapter so we can have a context where we are. So Arjuna's confusion and renunciation or action. That's the first section, 1 to 3. And Nishkama Karma is where we covered until that section last week. We're going to cover 10 to 16 and we'll go there. So Arjuna is asking a question to Krishna, why are you engaging me? Why you want me to fight this war? When you said giving up the activity is better, that is what he has understood. Then Krishna starts to speak, saying that if you give up, there is no guarantee that you will get perfection. Giving up means to become detached for something. But is there any perfection? Is there guarantee that you will achieve perfection? Probably not. And there is no guarantee to get freedom from the reactions also, if you don't do work. That's what he told him in that section of 1 to 9. He said there's no guarantee if you to get perfection from renunciation. Neither there is guarantee if you will you'll not incur any reaction from the action, because everything has got some reaction, and everyone constantly is indulged in doing something or the other. There is never a moment that someone is not doing something based on the nature that they have. What are the different natures that we know of in this material world? Yeah, mode of goodness, passion. Someone is in goodness, they are doing something. Someone is in passion, someone is doing something. Ignorance, so everyone is indulged. So not doing work is also a kind of an action, which could be categorized under laziness, which is mode of probably ignorance. So there is always an action happening, whether in mode of goodness, passion or ignorance, and there is a reaction that is generated. So Krishna is saying there's no point in giving up artificially, because you haven't so for someone who has not purified, giving up something means his mind is going there. He's constantly thinking of something, because if you restrain your action, the mind goes there. If you have not purified enough, if you are purified, that is where the jnanis, or next level is when you are purified. Your mind doesn't disturb you, so you are okay to give up the activity. But until such time, we need to keep working. So Krishna's first instruction to Arjuna here is to keep doing your work rather than not doing your work, because this is the result. Krishna always gives a reason or a consequence why one should do something and why one should not do something, and what happens if one does this way or that way. So he says that better to do activity rather than not doing activity, because by not doing activity, if you think that you can renounce work, it won't help, because your mind goes there and you're indulged in activity anyway. And for someone to maintain their body, they need to do some work. So it's better to do some work, because one cannot maintain their own body without doing any work. So that's what he says. And then best is to become purified with your mind. Mind, if you can control your senses and do the work, that's best. And then finally in verse 9 he says, Yajnato karmana anyartha lokoyam karma bandhana. Because if you do the activity as a sacrifice for Vishnu, that's best. That is nishkama. Do your activity as a sacrifice for Vishnu. That means to please Vishnu and not aspiring for the results. That is best. If you can do that, that's best. That's what he says in 9th chapter. So, to perform your prescribed duties without desire for results, karma yoga, which is karma yoga, not desiring for results, and to please the Supreme Lord. Otherwise, work will cause bondage. So, work causes bondage if you don't do the work in order to please Vishnu. So, this is what he explained in verses 1 to 9. Now we can have a question. What if we have desires? Valid question, right? We all have desires. I mean, at least we started there. We may be in some level now, but we all have desires. So what if we have desires? That is what he's going to tell in the next section, 10 to 16. If one has desires, still he has to do work. And in the beginning, he spoke about, he speaks about these verses, and he says that in the beginning, I generated all the living entities, I also generated the demigods, and I gave them the process for liberation. That process is nothing but sacrifice. Sacrifice is yajna. So, if one has desire, he still has to do work in a religious way. It's better than not doing work, right? Do it in a religious way. So Lord Vishnu, just summary of this section is, Lord Vishnu created the material world for the conditioned souls and the devatas. Devatas are Indra, Chandra, Varuna, Vayu, Agni. These are all Devatas. Along with the process of sacrifice, which is Yajna. Yajna, interchangeably, sacrifice. And what did he say? Be happy. Krishna's intention for all of us is to be happy. It's not that we have to suffer. That is not what he intends of us. He wants us to be happy. That's why he created material world. To create, and he said, live happily and prosper while making little by little spiritual progress. That's what he's telling in this section. So be happy, make progress, make some spiritual advancement. So Devatas also he created, and who are these Devatas? They are very powerful living entities who assist Krishna in the functioning of the entire universe. Because the universe has to function, Indra, Chandra, they have to do, sun has to give his light, moon has to give moonshine, then Vayu, wind, such powerful lords of the universe. These are very, very powerful controllers of each department, you can say. So they function and help Krishna in the universal functioning, and they are dependent on the sacrifices. Whatever sacrifices the living entities do, they are dependent on that. And Krishna encourages performance of yajna. Yajna means sacrifice, like I said. And he does that. If you want material advancement, then do sacrifices. Because you want material advancement, you want to advance, so make sacrifices. So he interrelated that. He does this by making material advancement dependent on sacrifice. Making sense? Make sense? So the yajnas are meant to satisfy particular demigods or devatas, but Vishnu is the one who has to be ultimately satisfied. What is that famous verse? Anybody knows? It's there. Yeah. Say. So you can do some yajna, satisfy the demigods, but ultimately you should know that Krishna has to be satisfied. If you know that, if you come to that stage, then you will live with peace. That is that meaning of that verse. So finally, by worshipping the Lord for material well-being, one gradually becomes purified. So what is the result of doing yajnas or sacrifices? Purification of the heart. It purifies us. And then by purification, gradually, there is hope that we can make gradual spiritual advancement, step by step. So that's what is the overview of that section 10 to 6. Now if we go into the verses, 10th verse, Sahayajna praja srishtva purovacha prajapatihi anena prasavidyatvam eshavotstva ishtakamaduk. Anybody wants to read the translation?
In the beginning of creation, the Lord of all creatures sent forth generations of men and demigods, along with sacrifices for Vishnu, and blessed them by saying, Be thou happy by this yajna, sacrifice, because its performance will bestow upon you everything desirable for living happily and achieving liberation.
Yes. So sacrifice will bestow everything. If you do sacrifice, you can live happily, you can prosper, and also achieve liberation. So happiness or yajna, long ago Vishnu, the Lord of creatures, Prajapati, created population along with the sacrifices and said, may you get all desirable things by this yajna to live happily and achieve liberation. So Krishna created this material world for one purpose, to bring back the conditioned souls back to Godhead. That is the ultimate purpose. Some people say, why did Lord created this world if we are suffering here so much? His reason is because you wanted to enjoy. He created this world, but ultimately He gave everything else along with that so that you can make progress to go back to Him finally. So the material creation by the Lord is a chance offered to the conditioned souls to come back home, back to Godhead. And Prabhupada, at the end of every chapter, even though this is Karma Kanda to Karma Yoga section, Prabhupada makes it a point to quote Bhakti Yoga process at the end of every purport and gives what is the best yajna or sacrifice that we can do in this age of Kali? Sankirtan yajna. Sankirtan yajna is the best recommended by the Vedic scriptures. And this transcendental system was introduced by Lord Chaitanya for the deliverance of men in this age. Can we all read that verse? Krishna Varnam Trisha Krishnam Sangopangasta Parshadam Yajnai Sankirtana Prayer Yajantihi Sumedasaha. So Krishna Varnam Trisha Krishnam. We are not discussing that verse, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave this verse so that all the wise men can become delivered from this material world. So that is a process. So he gave the material world as also the process of deliverance. That is 10th verse. Now 11th and 12th. Anyone wants to read the verses as well and the translations? Yes.
3.11 देवान् भावयते ते देवा भावयन्तु वः परस्परं भावयन्तः श्रेयः परमवाप्स्यस्यथ. Translation: the demigods, being pleased by sacrifices, will also please you, and thus by cooperation between men and demigods, prosperity will reign for all.
So the demigods are the controllers of the universe. And okay, let's go through who are devatas. Who are? So in this material world, in this world, we have two types of living entities. One is that who wants to serve, and the other is that who wants to be served. Yes, to rule over the others. The other type of living beings are who want to serve as well as rule, and those are devatas. So devatas are very, very great devotees. At the same time, they have some desires to control. So that's why they have these potencies. Krishna has bestowed them with these potencies so they can serve him as well as serve the universe, and in that way serve the people. So devatas, they need sacrifices for them to function. So the devatas, being pleased by sacrifices, will supply all necessities to human beings. Thus, by the cooperation between men and devatas, prosperity will reign for all. That's the translation, right? So where is the cooperation happening? How is the cooperation happening between devatas and the men? By sacrifice. The men perform sacrifices, devatas become pleased and give the necessities that are required for the human beings. So there are many benefits by doing the sacrifices. What are the benefits? Can anybody read that? The bullets.
All activities become purified.
Yes.
One's eatables become sanctified. By eating sanctified foodstuffs, one's very existence becomes purified. By the purification of existence, finer tissues in the memory become sanctified. When memory is sanctified, one can think of the path of liberation. All these combined together lead to Krishna consciousness, the great necessity of present day society.
These are the points from the purport. Prabhupada's brilliant delineation of the steps, what happens when we do all these. So when you do sacrifice, activities become purified. Like you did chanting now. Wasn't it purifying to your heart? Everything becomes purified. And then eatables also. We are offering bhoga to Krishna and becomes prasadam. So that is sanctified food, which is also purified. Then eating the sanctified food makes one's existence becomes also purified. Okay? And that purification slowly, gradually, that purification leads to the finer tissues becoming purified, including memory. And when memory is sanctified, one can think better. And what is the better is to path of liberation. And then slowly they may want to come to ISKCON program one day somewhere or to some satsang. And then they get connected to the devotees and their journey begins. This is how. This is Prabhupada's steps. I haven't done anything. Just put the steps over here. So that's the cooperation between men and demigods or devatas. Let's talk them as devatas. That's best word to describe them. And then the verse 12, Krishna says, anyone wants to read?
In charge of the various necessities of life, the demigods, being satisfied by the performance of the yajna, sacrifice, will supply all necessities to you. but he who enjoys such gifts without offering them to the demigods in return is certainly a thief.
A thief. So what happens one doesn't do sacrifice? Means they are not offering to the demigods. He is nothing but a thief, because they are getting all the necessities fulfilled. They are getting sunshine, they are getting moonshine, they are getting water. Wind is universal, it is there. So everything is available to them, but they are not offering back. So that is they are called as thieves, Tena. So demigods are authorized supplying agents on behalf of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu. Therefore, they must be satisfied by the performance of prescribed yajnas. A society of thieves can never be happy because they have no aim in life. That's Prabhupada's line. So, a society, because it's all thieves, right? This verse is, Krishna is speaking about thieves. And if all the entire society is thieves only, where is the happiness? Each thief is trying to steal from the others. So there is no happiness there is no aim of life. Now, next verse. Very famous verse.
यज्ञशिष्टाशिना सन्तो मुच्यन्ते सर्वकल्पिषे भुञ्जते ते त्वघं पापा ये पचन्ते आत्मकारणात्. The devotee of the Lord are released from all kinds of sins because they eat food which is offered first for sacrifice. Others who prepare food for personal sense enjoyment verily eat only sin.
Yeah. This is the probably first verse you would have learned from in Krishna consciousness, that this is a verse 3:13 where she says, if you don't offer food to Krishna, you're only eating sin. So from then onwards we start fearing and start offering. So this is what happens. As you devotees are happy because they are offering to the Lord, and Krishna takes away all the sin associated with that food, and we become satisfied. So that is, we get prasadam and we become satisfied. So the persons who both thieves and sinful, who are thieves, who don't offer to the devatas, and sinful is when we don't offer to Vishnu. The food is sin. That's what Krishna is saying. So how can they be happy? Not possible. So therefore, in order for people to become happy in all respects, they must be taught to perform the easy process of Sankirtan Yajna in full Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, there can be no peace or happiness in the world. Only after coming to Krishna consciousness, we have become regulated in offering food. Otherwise, we used to offer on occasions, fruits like that, but regularly offering, every day offering, we have come only here. And what Prabhupada is telling is, it is easy. It's not that difficult. We eat, so we just offer it and eat. And one who can perform the easy process of Sankirtan Yajna, just chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra at home, along with the devotees, that is the best process. So this is this verse. Eating food offered in sacrifice. What is sacrifice? Just offering it to Krishna itself is sacrifice. There is no other bigger process involved in it. Just offering the food to Krishna is sacrifice. So if you can offer your food before eating, that's best. So then he speaks about verses 14 and 15 as cycle of sacrifice. He volunteers?
अन्नानवन्ति भूतानि पर्जन्य अन्नसंभवः यज्ञ भवति पर्जन्यो यज्ञ कर्म समुद्भवः. All living bodies subsist on food grains which are produced from rains. Rains are produced by performance of yajna, sacrifice, and yajna is born of prescribed duties. 16th
also. Someone can read, or 15, sorry.
15.
Yeah, translation.
Translation by Prabhupada. Regulated activities are prescribed in the Vedas, and the Vedas are directly manifested from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Consequently, the all-pervading transcendence is eternally situated in acts of sacrifice.
Yeah, 14th verse, Krishna speaks, all living entities subsist on food grains. How are the food grains produced? From rains. How are rains? In this verse only Krishna explains, the rains are produced by performance of yajna, sacrifice. And yajna is born of the prescribed duties. Prescribed duties is the Vedic injunctions. Within the Vedic injunctions, there are injunctions how to perform sacrifices. So from the sacrifice comes rain, from the rains grains grow, and living entities subsist on them. We all need grains. And then in the 15th verse, Krishna says, regulated activities are nothing but the injunctions are prescribed in the Vedas, and the Vedas are directly manifested from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Consequently, the all-pervading transcendence is eternally situated in acts of sacrifice. So, starting from Supreme Lord. So, Supreme Lord gave Vedas. All the Vedas are manifested from Him. Vedas are born out of His body. That is called Brahma. Kshara is one who falls. Akshara means who does not. So Krishna is Akshara. Brahma, different context, different meaning. In this place it is called Veda. So from Krishna are born Vedas. From Vedas have the injunctions. Karma Kandik, everything else also there. So you do the prescribed actions are there in the Vedas. From the Vedas you do, based on those injunctions you perform sacrifices. From sacrifices the rain god is pleased. He bestows us with the rains. From the rains grow grains. The grains are eaten by the living entities and they offer them back to the Lord in devotion. That completes the cycle. If one does not understood this cycle of sacrifice, clear, right? So from the Lord comes the Vedas. From the Vedas, injunctions. From that you learn how to do sacrifice. Once you do sacrifice, rains come and then you get the food, you eat, then you offer that back to the Lord in devotion. That is the cycle of sacrifice. These 14th and 15th verses are that. Now 16th verse, Krishna says, one who does not follow this cycle. Evam pravartitam chakram nanuvartayit tiha yaha agayor indriyaramo mogam partha sajivati. The chakram in this word is nothing but the cycle of sacrifice. My dear Arjuna, one who does not follow this cycle of sacrifice established by the Vedas certainly leads a futile life full of sin, agha ayu, living only for the satisfaction of the senses, indriya arama. Agha is sin, ayu is life, sinful life, and only for indriyas are senses, arama is enjoying. So we're only for the sense enjoyment. So this is this verse. So if one does not follow this cycle, then they are only sinful people. For those who want to enjoy this material world, the above mentioned cycle of performing yajna is absolutely necessary. The yajna system is planned in such a way that sensory consciousness persons may satisfy their desires without becoming entangled in reaction of sense gratificatory work. So one who does not do the sacrifice means he is getting entangled in actions and reactions. The prosperity of the world depends not on our own efforts, but on the background arrangement of the Supreme Lord directly carried out by the demigods. So how everything is interrelated. Your activities, demigod's role, Krishna, how he is sanctioning everything. Right? Indirectly it is practice of Krishna consciousness. Because when one masters the performance of yajna, one is sure to become Krishna conscious. It's a gradual process. It's not directly, but Prabhupada gives at the end of every verse, purport, you can do directly. Become Krishna conscious. Just chanting Hare Krishna, becoming a Krishna conscious, and offering food. These are the very simple steps. Chant Hare Krishna, offer your food to start off. You're already Krishna conscious. So for transcendentalists who are already doing this and who are above vice and virtue, that means they have purified a lot. There is no necessity of rigidly following the performance of prescribed yajnas. If one is doing the already chanting and involved in deity worship and doing the bhoga to the Lord and all these steps, then there is no need to do this prescribed yajnas. Because they are very elaborate, it needs lot of resources, lot of time, right? It's very tedious process. Lot of qualification is needed for the by the priest who can do this. So that is why Prabhupada says simple and easy process. Just do this. Chant Hare Krishna, offer your food. That means you are already Krishna conscious. You don't have to do this elaborate, whatever prescribed yajnas. So that is this section, 10 to 16. Any questions? Okay, since Yes, Prabhuji.
Can you elaborate the second bullet point on this slide itself? The yajna system is planned in such a way that sensory conscious person may satisfy their desires without becoming entangled in reaction of sense gratificatory work.
Elaborate.
Yeah, because until it becomes karma yoga, the sacrifice system generally results in actions and reactions.
Right.
So that's what I wanted to understand. That if it is in a cycle of action and reaction, how can it be free from reaction of sense gratification?
So, sensory conscious people who want to do karma kanda rituals, like what are they trying to do? What are they trying to do in karma kanda? They want to enjoy the results, and they most likely offer to the devatas only. So they are enjoying the results. So at least they are doing something. That's what Krishna is propagating, right, in these verses. Do that so that you will become purified, and eventually when the purification happens, right now there is reaction happening in the karma kanda. Reaction is there. They're getting the results. So slowly at some point the light will come off, and maybe they say, maybe this is enough. Let me just become more serious about going back. Liberation is the next aspiration they want. It's not directly going back to God. The liberation, if you go on the path, slowly it will lead. Krishna will drag you. If you are on the path, Krishna will drag. So come on to the path. That is what he's saying. Do this without, don't get entangled too much. Good. Okay, 10 to 16 verses are this. Since we have time, we'll go to the next section little bit. Cover some more. So what was the section 10 to 16? That it says, if you have desires, right? That was a starting point. If you have desires, do this, religious activities. Now if you don't have desires, someone has no desires, someone has no attachments, someone has become so knowledgeable that he has nothing to do. What should we do? Still do the work. That is what Krishna is saying. That is Nishkamakar. Why? To set the example. So one who is in full knowledge, who does not have material desires nor attachments, he does not need to perform any prescribed duties for his purification because he is already purified. But he still performs obligatory duties prescribed by the scriptures to set the right example for those who are less knowledgeable. Just so, to set the right example, yad yad acharati cheshtas tat tat eveta rojana. Did we finish that verse? It's coming.
No, it's 321.
Oh, it's coming. Yeah, it's coming. So, yeah, so this is the reason why they have to work. It is that we have to still work to set the example. Because everyone is looking up to us. People look up to people. They want someone they can look up to. That is natural tendency. They need someone as a role model. So to help them, you need to do that work. So that they become, it will help them. So next 17 to 35 is that set. We won't cover everything. We'll cover up till 22. So verses 17 to 18. Yastva atmaratir eva syad atmatriptascha manava atmani eva cha santushtas tasya karyam na vidyate. But for one who takes pleasure in the self, atma rati, who is satisfied in the self, atma tripta, fully satiated in himself alone, atma santushta, there is no obligation to do any prescribed actions, no taste for material pleasures, no purpose or gain in performing such actions, no reason for not performing such work. 2, no need to depend on any other living beings or devatas. They have nothing to do. They have no obligation to anyone. They have nothing, no work to do, because they're not asking for any material pleasure, no attachment. But still, so that is first verse. 18th also covers like that. A self-realized man has no purpose to fulfill in the discharge of his duties, prescribed duties, nor has he any reason not to perform such work, nor he has any need to depend on any living being. So those are the two verses, 17 and 18. But why does he do? As an obligation. तस्मादक्षता सततं कार्यं कर्म समाचर असक्तो हि आचरन् कर्म परम आपनोति पुरुषः. Obligatory work with detachment, because he is already detached, right? But he still works as an obligation. Therefore, without being attached to the fruits of action, one should act as a matter of duty. By working dutifully with detachment, one can attain liberation of the Supreme Lord. So what is the result of doing it as a duty? Liberation of the Supreme Lord. Slowly, eventually. So liberation is a starting point. So he does that. 19th verse is that. Then 20 to 21, 20, 21, 22. 20. यद्यदाचरति श्रेष्ठस्तत्तत् एवेतरो जना स यत् प्रमाणं कुरुते लोकस्तत् अनुवर्तते. So whatever act, 20, right? Karma. Please read.
कर्मणैव हि संसिद्धिम् अस्थितो जनाखादय लोकसङ्ग्रहम् एवापि सम्पश्यन् कर्तुमर्हसि. Kings such as Janaka attained perfection solely by performance of prescribed duties. Therefore, just for the sake of educating the people in your life, you should perform your work.
So, generally, when we have to say someone is doing something, look at that person, he has done that. We quote a nice person that who is doing something which is very nice, so we quote him, right? Generally, we do. No, Krishna is only quoting Janaka Maharaj. How great Janaka Maharaj is, because he has become perfected by doing his prescribed duties. So that is why he is the father-in-law of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Kings such as Janaka attain perfection, samsiddhim, solely by performance of prescribed duties, although they are self-realized and beyond doing any obligatory work. Therefore, just for the sake of teaching people in general, you should just perform your work. That is that. Because, why? Because this verse, yad yad acharati shreshtas tattat evetaro jana sayatta pramanam kurute lokastat anuvartate. Whatever action a great man performs, common men follow. And whatever standards he sets by exemplary acts, the whole world pursues. If we don't follow some exemplary person from the Vedas or scriptures, we follow someone definitely from the current world. We'll definitely follow someone. If we don't follow someone from the scriptures, we follow someone else. Because that following is there. Following is there, whether we follow this or that. So better to follow from the scriptures. Because that gives you perfection. If you follow from the material world, what happens? It is lower than the karma kanda, whatever Krishna spoke. Right? It's lower than that. It's not karma kandik. It's below that. So then there is more entanglement. So better to follow someone from the scriptures. What about Krishna? Does he need to do anything? He does not need to do anything. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He has nothing to do, because if it's just Ichcha, one Ichcha he will have and everything gets done. But he still does work. That's why he is quoting about himself in this verse. Anyone wants to read the last verse?
Name partasi kartavyam trishu lokeshu kinchana nanavaktam avaktavyam varta eva sacha karmani. O son of Pritha, there is no work prescribed for me within all the three planetary systems, nor am I in want of anything, nor have I a need to obtain anything, and yet I am engaged in prescribed duties.
And yet Krishna is engaged in prescribed duties. So he doesn't need to be in the war. He comes into the war just to act as a charioteer for Arjuna. That is a very menial service, right? Very, very menial. Not even proper regard will be there in the battlefield. They'll be only getting kicks as a charioteer, right kick, left kick. So that's such a menial job that he has taken. He has nothing to do, but yet he does. And he comes to the material world to give pleasure to his devotees, as well as to destroy the miscreants and to reinstate or establish the religion and to give pleasure to the pious people. So he does that as a duty. He doesn't have to, but he does. So that is where we are only covering until 22nd verse. You want to go more? Next week. Okay? Yeah, we have few minutes. Anyone wants to share any reflections?
Just for understanding, how can we convert karma into karma yoga?
Prabhupada gives it from the starting point. Whatever you are doing as an offering to the Lord. That work that we are offering to the Lord without aspiring for it. Because Krishna speaks about it, karmane evadhikarasti later on. But from the beginning itself, Prabhupada starts saying that whatever you do as an offering to the Lord. Even the jobs that we are doing it as an offering to the Lord becomes karma yoga. Any other reflections?
Going with the setting the right example is the best thing as Prabhupada spoke, like how he has set the complete terms, what and all we have to follow, especially in this Kali Yuga. Every single thing, like we had just now the question, how can we put that into Krishna consciousness? So you are doing your own activities like cooking, eating, everything, but Prabhupada has put it in such a way that it becomes an offering to the Lord. We get purified at every step that we just do what we need to do. You're cleaning the home, you're going out for the grocery, you do all this just so that, okay, I need to offer this to the Lord. So everything becomes purified. You're earning, so you earn. Everyone is earning, right? And then you do something for the temple, or you're buying groceries and again cooking, so you offer that. So every single step, whatever you do, everything becomes a sacrifice and you're sanctified. So the setting the right example, Prabhupada has literally shown what we can do and how we can follow. So that is something which I like from all these things.
Thank you, Mataji. So the acharyas, they walk their talk. They practice what they preach. They just don't preach that you have to. They also practice it. So and show it by example. Okay, so we are at 6:20. We conclude. Thank you very much for giving your attention.
Thank you, Mataji, for such a wonderful class. Now let's move on to the next part of the program, which is the closing kirtan.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Guru Deva, 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 Nitya Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitya Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitya Hari Bol. Shri Radha Madhav की, श्रील प्रभुपाद की,
महाप्रसादे गोविंदे रामो ब्रह्मे वैष्णवे
Krishna. As you can see, there's a beautiful cake right there. Today is a special day as we're celebrating the birthday of our congregation member, Priyam Vantam Mataji. Kanda Mataji. I'm so sorry, Mataji.
ये बच्चों को भी बुला लो अरे बच्चे चिल्ड्रन ऑल चिल्ड्रन
Hare Krishna to you.
आ जाओ माता जी काटो ओ नाइस वीडियो
No, she's happy. No. You hold. Come. Yeah.
Hare Krishna to you Hare Krishna to you Hare Rama to you Hare Rama to you Hare Krishna to you Hare Krishna to you Hare